Sorry, I had to run upstairs to get to the camera. Sorry, that was such a bad intro. Oh, hey everybody, welcome. This is the Daily Creative Challenge for Adobe Illustrator. If you're here, say hello, say hi in chat. You know that I love to see it. We're gonna have some fun today, and so let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're ready to have some fun. Today is my favorite day. We've done this kind of challenge a few times. This is my favorite kind of challenge. That's right, we are talking about my two favorite things, type and texture. Type and texture. We love typography here. We love texture here. We're going to slam them together. And today we are going to get some camera 2 action. We're going to get some hands on because if you're just joining us, you need to know one thing that I love to get into the real world and then convert it into the digital. So we're going to be in Illustrator today, but I'm going to show you a little bit of real world so that we understand what we're doing in Illustrator. And hello, yes, my name is Andrew Hockrattle. I forgot to introduce myself. You can follow along right here. Link is going to Wade those links in chat. Wade is going to drop those links in chat. Got those words all mixed up, so you can hang out right there. So let's go ahead and hop right into some ways that you can get involved. You can join us first of all right here behance.net/challenge/illustrator. This is where your source files will be. Today I have a bunch of textures for you in here, and we are making a wanted poster right on theme. We are doing a Western theme right now. So make sure to check that out. And then a small announcement at 2:30 today, we are doing Adobe Office Hours Abroad. We are hanging out and we are going to be working in Spark. So join us for that at 2:30 with Nick Longo and I. Go here, it's on the schedule, and set a little reminder for yourself, and I'll see you there. All right. Let's hop right in to our Discord, bit.ly/AI Discord. That's where you can get involved. That's where you can post your work and get reviewed by myself or even one of our great, amazing, fantastic, high level, incredible, I don't have any more words. People, oh, I hit all the wrong buttons, y'all. All right, we're here. There we go. AI Discord, and you can hang out in our Discord. This is where people are hanging out, putting your work. Once you're done with the challenge, you can post it here in Discord, and we have some mentors and myself that will hop in and give you some reviews because we always like to be stepping up our skills. All right, so let's go ahead and hop in today. It's going to be a fun one. We've got a ton to cover, so we need to get started. We are doing a Western theme, and hopefully you guys know by now, I like to have fun. We like to get goofy, and we like to learn through doing. So what we're going to do, we're going to hop in, we're going to do some hands-on, and we're going to hit the trail. Let's do it. We are back and we are going to be looking at some hands-on. That's right, we are working with typography today. We're working with texture as well. So what we're going to do is we are going to hop in to, that's right, our favorite overhead cam 2. I'm going to move my microphone over just a little bit. I may cut off, but what I want to show you is how type works, right? When we're talking about typography and especially texture, the reason we want to do this is because we're trying to replicate what's called a wood block kind of type. A lot of times those are slab serifs that we've looked at in the past, but whenever they were printed, they always had some attributes that we're going to incorporate today. They always had a little bit of texture and they would always be in kind of a rectangular zone. So check this out. What we're going to do is we just put a little bit of ink here, and we'll try to do this fast so we can hop into Illustrator as quickly as possible. And we're going to roll this out to get a little bit of ink on there. Now what I want to do is I'm going to roll this ink onto this pad here. Now if you think about it, this is exactly what we're doing in Illustrator, right? This would be almost like a fill in Illustrator. We're filling with a color. And once we have that fill on there, we're simply going to push that down on the paper. We'll push really hard right here. And yes, this is my man cave. So I'll push down right here, and this is basically us in Illustrator filling in that letter and that type with some fill. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually overlay texture. But when we pull this up, you can see that it has a lot of good kind of gradual texture. When we think about Illustrator, a lot of times it's just vector. It's very clean. And so we're going to play around with kind of trying to create these little gradations and take type that is this slab serif and put some texture on it. So let's go ahead, hop into Adobe Illustrator and get started for today. Now, if you haven't, you can go to bit.ly slash behance.net/challenge/illustrator to get our source file for today. We have a big poster here, and we are going to be making a wanted poster. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little texture, but you wouldn't think about this as a texture. This will kind of lay down the groundwork for how we're going to be working today. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this picture of myself, and I'm going to bring it over our poster. Actually, let's look at our challenge. How about that? Let's start there. Make a wanted poster with wood-inspired type effects using textures and opacity masks. Super fun. And yes, we thought that was a demo at first. Stock image. No, that is real. I love doing some real world and then taking it over into Illustrator. So we have an image here, and we're going to blow this up, and you can see that it has a background, and we're going to think about this as a texture. We're going to change the blending mode to multiply. And working with blending mode will make it so that everything kind of goes through or brings back. It's going to interact as you stack on top of things. So with this, we're going to change it to multiply over here. And what multiply does is it's actually going to knock out all of the white. So now if you think about me, instead of just being a picture, if you think about it as a texture, it's now affecting what's below it. And that texture, which is me, is interacting with those things below. Now, as you're working on your daily creative challenges, if you want an image to put in your wanted poster, grab your screenshots right now, and let's do this real quick. Here we go. All right. There you go. You got 3 good screen caps to work on your wanted posters. Go back and screenshot those. You can incorporate them using that multiply feature. And you saw I made the background white so that you can multiply easily. Now, let's keep going here and let's look for some type. Let's look for some typography. And our type is going to want to be arranged in kind of blocks. So it's going to be very blocky. And the reason for that is when we would arrange these blocks, right? There was no way to type on a path to make things kind of merge. It would have to be something like this. It was very difficult, and so everything would be very linear, very kind of square, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's go ahead and hop over into Illustrator, and we're going to grab the type tool first of all, and we're just going to click, and that is going to grab some type for us. I'm going to use S to scale this up just very quickly. And we're going to look for some type that has that kind of slab serif look that we were talking about. So we're going to Control T to bring up our type panel. And up here, we're going to leverage the power of Adobe Fonts to go to Find More. And then we are going to do slab serifs. And I want something that's super chunky. So we're going to do a thick slab serif. And you know what? This one looks good to me. So we're going to do Beastly. Oh, where did you go? Actually, let's do this one. There we go. So we're going to do wanted up here at the top. We're just going to type it in. And of course, we have to make it red. It was very rare to have a lot of colored inks back in the day. It was just expensive to print with colors like red. But guess what? Pixels are free. So we are going to work with red here. Now, there's a couple ways that we can augment this. We're going to talk about additive texture, we're going to talk about subtractive texture, and then we're going to talk about opacity masks. So 3 different kinds. If you're taking notes, those are the 3 that we're going to cover today. The first is additive texture. And if we want to add some texture on top of these letters, we can simply grab one of our textures here. And I'm going to bring it over here holding Alt or Option, and that will make a copy of it. And I'm just going to click and drag and stretch this over our type. Now, there is a lot of extra points here, and there will be a ton of points on yours. But you can double click and isolate, And we're going to grab the direct selection tool. And this is a little secret that I like to use. Actually, let's use the lasso tool because we were doing a Western. Use Q to grab the lasso tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to select all of the area outside of these letters that we don't want. So we're just going to loop around here and then loop around all of this extra texture. Grab that little piece right there too. Cool. So you can see that they're all selected, and we are simply going to hit backspace or delete and delete. It's going to delete those shapes and then again delete the extra anchor points. And now we have just the texture over what we want on this type. The type's actually on the wrong layer, so let's move that back just a little bit. There we go. So let's talk about additive texture. Is we have this texture on top. Right now it's not interacting with the background, but we really want it to. So we are going to click on maybe brown, and now we have a brown fill. We can see that it's not really doing much here, but if we select it and change that blending mode to multiply, this is going to be something called additive texture. So now you can see it is interacting with this red, giving us some nice kind of different values, especially as it interacts over the edges. So let's zoom out here, and you can see now we've got some gritty texture kind of sitting on top. And guess what? This is our first type. This is additive texture. And what we're doing is taking the base of those letters and we are adding texture on top of those letters, right? So it's basically just throwing some dirt on it. So adding on top. Next, we're going to talk about subtractive texture. And subtractive texture is going to be taking away. The next two that we're going to look at are subtractive textures. So we're going to play around with this and see what we can do. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to outline this type. I'm going to make a copy because you can have as many copies as you want, just in case. We're going to click and hold Alt or Option, dragging there. And we are going to select this type, go to Object and Expand. We're going to hit OK. And now you can see instead of live type, it is actually just shapes. So this is where it gets a little bit crazy. Subtractive texture, again, is like a hole punch, and we are going to be using the Pathfinder tool. It's going to be taking away from this letter or these words that are below it. So let's go here, and we are going to select this word wanted and go to Object, Compound Path, and Make. What that basically is saying is Illustrator should treat it as one shape. Same thing here, Object, Compound Path, and Make. Control 8 is the hotkey for that. And with these two selected, the texture and the letters behind, we are going to go to the Pathfinder. Is it more memory intensive to outline the type and draw inside? I think it's probably equal. They've done a lot of improvements, especially this year, to Illustrator to help with that memory and not get bogged down. So you should be totally fine. So let's go ahead and knock it through. And what that's going to do is we're going to click here on the Pathfinder tool. It's going to knock the front out of the back. There we go. And now you can see we've got some nice texture. And when we did additive, you couldn't see what was in the background. Now that we've done subtractive, if there is a different color in the background or even a different image, we can see, I'll send this backward. There we go. You can see that these letters are actually see-through now. So it is taken away from that type. And what's the difference between expanding type and creating outlines from type? Exact same thing. Exact same thing, just different words for it. You can expand, or if you have type, you can simply outline the type hitting Control-Shift-O, and then you have the outline. So exact same thing, different ways of doing it. Again, there's no wrong way. You can literally do it a million different ways. I know probably 4 other ways to do that, and there's no wrong way to do it. You just do it. Cool. So let's talk about the next one, and that is an opacity mask. An opacity mask is something that is not just going to cut or add, right? It's not going to be crisp. It's going to pick up all of those values. So just like we saw on our letter that we put here, there is a lot of gradation. There are some dark colors, some light colors, and some grays in between. So what we're going to do is we are going to add in another texture kind of over my photo. And this is something that I just grabbed from Adobe Stock. You can get a raster image from anywhere. And it's better to do opacity masks with raster images. So if you have gradual textures, you're really just looking at the black or the white and the kind of grays between. So we're going to overlay this over my photo. We're going to get a nice watermark on this, which is fun. So we are going to zoom in here, and we have the photo sitting on top. And what this is going to do, think about it as this. When you were in elementary school or younger, if you ever had one of those transparency sheets that kind of went on the glass and projected on the wall, that's what we're doing. We are putting basically a transparency sheet or a piece of film over whatever that photo is. Everything that is black or darker is going to fade away, and everything that is white or lighter is going to stay. Right? So if it's gray, if it's 50% black, then it is going to show it 50%. Right? So let's do this. And Kim, hopefully that answered your question. Let me know if it didn't. What we're going to do is we're going to select our texture that is sitting on top. This is a raster image, and we are going to hit Control or Command Y, and that is going to allow us to go to outline mode. Now we can select both of these by outline mode. This is our photo in the background. But if we don't want to go to outline mode and we just want to select things that are kind of stacked on top of each other, check this out. We can click and then hold Control and click again, and you can see you get that little bracket next to our arrow, and I'm still holding Control. We are going to go down, and it will actually select things in a stack. Right? So if we have 3 things stacked on top of each other right now, we'll select the first one, we'll hold Control, we'll click again, we get that little bracket, and then we'll keep selecting back. So now we have our picture selected. If I do it again, it's going to select the background that we have there. So it will keep clicking down. Super easy and quick way to grab things that are stacked on top of each other. I know that gets really, really hard sometimes or really complicated. Super easy. Hold Control. Boom. And then I can grab Shift and grab this above it. So if you're stacking things, especially when you're doing textures like this, use that Control option and just click through, select the background, hold Shift, and then select the one that's on top as well. So we're going to continue on. This is our last kind of type texture. And that is going to be an opacity mask. So over here in our transparency panel, we can hit Make Mask. And what that's going to do again, it is going to take the black parts or the darker parts and knock them out of the back image. And the lighter parts, it's going to keep them. So when we click on Make Mask, you'll see it started, and it's very, very subtle. It started to push those through. And this actually, let's do this, y'all. I'm going to make this a little bit darker for us so that we can have a better example of what that looks like. So I'm going to multiply this down, and we are just going to copy and paste this a few times. There we go. And I am going to make it so that we rasterize this. And you don't need to do this. I just didn't grab a dark texture that is dark enough. So there we go. So now what we're going to do, same thing, right? We're going to blow this up, and now we have a bit more gradation. We're going to hold Control and click through to that background image, and now select with Shift, and come over here to Make Mask. There we go. We can see that much better. So you can see that it's gradual, and it's taken the darkest parts of that image and started to knock them out, and the lighter parts has kind of kept. So if you want to, you can add something like that onto your entire artboard. And if we want to, you can select this image, come in here, and let's say that we want to resize it a little bit. We can click on this image and scale it down so that we have a little more of kind of gradation there. So you can edit it after the fact very easily by coming over here, and instead of clicking on the image, you click on the transparency mask. So we're going to copy this, and we are going to paste this over our type here, right? So we have subtractive texture on that type. It's pulled it away. We're going to hold Control and, oops, was this not grouped? Oh, it is grouped. All right, let's do this. Check this out. We're just going to select both of them, even though they're not overlapping, and we are going to hit Make Mask. And then from there, you can see that the image only got half of it. So we'll click So we'll click on our image and come over here, and now we can move what the opacity mask is, right? So we can see all those nice little gradations happening in our type. And from there, we can click back out, change this maybe to multiply. And now we can see it interacting with the background. It's got that kind of gradual look to it, which is really engaging and creates that true texture of what a kind of wanted poster would be. Now, the other thing that I want to show you real quick when we have a couple minutes is something called catchwords. And catchwords are something that would be with the wood type. And actually, a catchword would be one of these. So just like this is a letter, a catchword would be an entire word of just one block, right? So it would go and push it into that perfect space without having to do anything manual, right? And these were often really crazy, would add a lot of interest visually to your designs. So we're going to do wanted and dangerous here. And what I can do is I'm going to grab the type tool and we're going to search Adobe fonts to see if there's anything that is just catchwords. So let's go ahead and hit here. And I'm going to grab our type panel, go into find more. And in here, I'm going to type in catchwords and see if anything comes up. Let's turn off the filters. Just a second. I tried to turn off the filter. There we go. And there are some catchwords. So we're typing in catchwords, and yeah, we've got a great one right here. So we're going to download this by just clicking on that little cloud, and that will sync it to our folder and sync it to Adobe Illustrator so that we can use it. And using catchwords is a great way to incorporate into your wanted poster some interesting things that you don't have to build manually. It's usually just a part of a font. So we can click here, and there we go. There's a nice and. So we'll do wanted and then the word dangerous. Ooh, that's a better and. Let's do that one. Oops. So let's scale this up. There we go. Wanted and then let's do the word dangerous. We're going to change it back to our font that we had used before. Dangerous. There we go. We are going to drag this down, make sure that it aligns right here. And I know we're not supposed to do this, but sometimes you just got to stretch type. So what's cool here is we actually can incorporate this into the existing opacity mask. So watch this. If we want to, we can make these red, just like this one. And we can simply grab our opacity mask. We can release that opacity mask from the top one. And now we have it back. We can move it around where we want it over all of these letters right there. And actually, let's just do this. Let's move it completely away and select all three of these. Then we are going to hit Make Mask. And because everything is selected, oops, they need to be grouped. So they need to be all grouped together. There we go. Now we are going to select our texture and hit Make Mask. And now you can see it's only grabbing this bottom part, but we can very easily click over here and edit our mask and drag it up. And yes, stretching type hurts your eyes. Sometimes that's what needs to happen. So there we go. So we have incorporated this opacity mask now to all of our type. And guess what? It is still live type here. So even though it is having those gradations, it is having that texture in there. Check this out. Wanted and awesome. Let's do that. We can still go in, we can retype it, we can stretch it back out to where it needs to go. And very easily, it's still incorporating all of that texture, still kind of having everything that we want and need in there. If we want to maybe add in some wood, let's grab this and see what happens. Maybe we don't want this opacity. I'm going to release it right there. And we're going to add in our texture that is here, this wood texture. So the secret is if you're working with vectors, you do need to make a white box because it can't be just the black box. It won't actually mask anything. We need to have a white box behind it with the black. And we're going to group those. And again, same exact thing. We are just going to stack them on top of each other. And this is going to give us a nice kind of crisp look. We're going to select our type and our texture, and we are going to come over here and do a make mask. And there we go. We can edit our mask over here and just bring it up so that it's over all of our type. And you can see everywhere that is black is knocking it out, and everywhere that is white is staying. And remember, that is a black texture that is vector with a white box behind it. You have to have the white and black box, and it needs to be grouped together because, again, it's punching out that black, and if there's no white, then nothing stays. It all goes away. So that's our lesson for today. I know that we went really close to going over. We covered a lot, so you can go back and watch those at behance.net/challenge/illustrator. Hopefully, y'all really liked today. Hopefully, you learned a lot, and make sure that you come back at the end of the day at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Adobe Office Hours. Nick Longo and I are going to be coming back and doing a new series called Adobe Abroad. We'll be covering all of the mobile apps of the Adobe Suite. So today we will be on desktop as well as iPad with Adobe Spark, showing you how you can create cool social media graphics on the go. So stick around for that. Right after me, I believe there is another show. There is a masterclass coming up. I'm not sure who it is. I forgot. I feel like maybe it's Howard Pinsky. So stick around for that. Hang out with Howard or Paul or someone else or Terry White. And I will see you all tomorrow at our next Daily Creative Challenge. Bye.